Hello, everyone, and welcome to Parent Academy. We're going to give folks a few minutes to join, but I'm really glad you're here. So glad that you could join us tonight. I know it's a busy, well, everyone's busy. Everyone has a busy night. So thank you for making us part of your evening tonight. And we hope to impart some really great information for you. So if you're just joining us, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Just letting you know, this is part 2 of our 4-part social media series. And tonight we're going to be talking about friendships and boundaries. Now, just to let you know, these are all standalone workshops. If you missed part 1, which we called Dealing with Digital Drama, you can always watch that on the district YouTube channel. Simply select playlists at the top, choose Parent Academy, and then you'll select Dealing with Digital Drama. We are doing all of our series in both English and Spanish over a 4-week time frame. So kind of a shortened time frame. We recognize you do have busy schedules. You can register and then watch them at your own time, at your own, when it's easiest for you. I do want to get started. I think it's about good. Our numbers are growing. So we're going to get started with tonight's workshop. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Holly Boakey, and I am the Family and Community Partnership Coordinator for the Clover Park School District. I will be your host for this evening. I'm going to help with the chat and the Q&A functions that appear at the bottom of your screen. So we really do hope that you choose to add to our conversation tonight. It is so much more enriching when we all share our thoughts and ideas and viewpoints. You really do bring value to our discussion. So I hope you do choose to join in on the chat. But before we begin, I'd really like to introduce our presenter for tonight. Leanne Reagan is in her 7th year. I kind of can't believe that, Leanne, as a PE teacher at Rainier Elementary. And she's currently a principal intern also at Rainier and getting her master's degree in educational leadership through WGU. And she is also a mother of 2 children. So juggling is certainly something that she's had to learn how to do. So thank you, Leanne, and thank you for being our presenter tonight.
Thank you.
All right, so let me share the screen. This is, technology. Yeah, here we go. We're going to hope it all works. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to stop sharing. One of the things we learned last time was I need to enable sound sharing. So we're going to have a short little video coming up within our presentation. All right. So Leanne, can you see our screen?
Yep, and can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you. So sweet. All right. So I'll let you take it away and I will run your program.
All right, great. Thanks. All right, welcome again. It's so great to see some more people coming. I hope we get more. The more we have you guys participate, the better this will be. So please feel free to participate by inputting in the chat when we get to that point. So this workshop is brought to you by Common Sense Media, which is part of Common Sense, an independent nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the lives of kids and families by providing the trustworthy information, education, and independent voice they need to thrive in the 21st century.
Sorry about that.
Okay, these days.
Okay, let's see if we can, not wanting to go forward. Welcome to the workshop.
There you go. Yep.
Okay. Now
you can stay there.
Okay. Perfect. So now do you need me to go to the next one?
Nope, stay right there.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay, perfect. We'll get it right.
Thank you, Holly. These days, parents of teens aren't only coping with the age-old struggle of raising a sometimes sullen and striving to separate human, we're also managing their media and tech. As you know, it's not easy, so we're glad you are here. This workshop is designed to help you understand the key media and tech issues teens are dealing with, give you some tools, and allow you to brainstorm around how you can help your kid, since you know them best in the context of your family's rules. So this is really centered around 4th to 12th grade, but we can use younger grades. You can see them using social media in elementary, as I am a PE teacher in elementary school, and I see it every day. Thank you. Next slide. All right, perfect. So give me a second to just go down on my end. Think about how texting and messaging affect your family. If we were pre-COVID together, we would turn and talk, but we're going to ask you to add in the chat. So if you can, please participate in the chat. The first question, does your kid text and use social media to message their friends? On which platforms? Do you use any? I know, like, when they say platforms, I know, for example, a lot of people use Facebook Messenger other than text messaging. My brother uses WhatsApp because he's in the military. So it'd be great to have.
Snapchat is also popular. It is, you know, I'm old, so I do old-fashioned texting. I'm sure that kids come up with other ways, but yeah, if you wouldn't mind. And then in the bottom, when it says to everyone, oh, so we have Snapchat, Discord. I haven't heard of that one. Also TikTok, that is huge, huge, huge. So thank you for sharing. Discord, I don't know much about Discord. So Janet, if you wouldn't mind, send us some information about Discord that you know, because that I'd love to know more.
Yeah, I've never heard of Discord.
Yeah, see, we're
but
all
TikTok is a big one, yeah.
Especially right now. Oh, Snapchat, somebody else said, that's a big one. And oh, Instagram, yep. TikTok, Snapchat. Our family uses Marco Polo and WhatsApp. Marco Polo, oh my gosh. There are so many different ways that that technology is continuing to change, and oh my gracious. We need a session just on that. My 12-year-old daughter uses Discord, YouTube, and text. Oh, thank goodness your 12-year-old is not. She uses texting like me. Thank goodness I'm not that old yet.
when I was asked to do this, and as I was reading it, you know, it's not just text messaging on phone. What we mean by platforms is all these other apps that you've never even heard of.
Right.
Yeah.
Changing all the time.
YouTube, I didn't even know you could communicate on YouTube.
Right, I know, exactly. I know, maybe we need a 12-year-old to do, tell us how this all works. Okay,
so now we're at the next question. Let's go to the next question. What rules do you have around how much your kid communicate? I'm sorry, what rules do you have around how much your kid can communicate with friends online?
Oh, that's a great question. Do you have any rules when you know, sometimes when we get our kids a phone, we forget, oh, shoot, we needed to have some rules. Oh, Discord is, instant messaging and digital distribution platform. Users communicate with voice calls, video calls, text messaging, media and files and private chats, or as part of communities called servers. Oh, thank you, Janet.
She got that from Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. Don't we love Wikipedia?
So do you
what about rules? Yeah.
What rules do you have around communicating with friends online? Do you have like a set time? Do you say you can only communicate through text messages or maybe Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp? What rules do you have?
That's some of those can be really important when we set those up sooner than later. Sometimes it's hard once the tiger got out of the cage to kind of reel that one back in on how kids communicate. I get the code to your phone and apps. Oh, so if you're paying the bill, I can so see that you get the code and to your phone and apps.
I think that's fair.
Yep. We have a lot of discussions about having the location turned off when communicating. Wow, so smart, Kendra, because that is, we're going to get into our next, we're going to talk about safety in one of our other workshops. And I think, especially if you're a parent of girls, well, even young boys, so important. My kids use Discord to talk with friends they know, and it's associated with video gamers too. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. My kids are allowed to talk on video games as well. The rule is appropriate language and regular discussions about safety. Oh, yes, it's an ongoing communication. It's not a one-time conversation. Very hard to manage. That's why I'm here. So, thank you for being honest with that's exactly why we're all here. Phones parked at night. I have the code to lots of discussions about safety.
That goes to the next question. So what challenges have you or your kid faced when it comes to texting and messaging? So are the challenges safety? Are the challenges that you're on your phone too much? It's funny reading these chats. In my mind, I'm thinking my kids spending all their time on their phone, and you guys are responding on safety. So it makes you think all these different ways.
True. So
I really appreciate those of you putting in the chat.
And I also really appreciate that there are many different ways. I mean, I think it's, you know, there's many different ways. Yeah, you can have rules about the phone, but, you know, we're now bringing up video games, and that's a whole different issue as well, because that's a social thing to play games with people you may or may not know, whereas on the phone, chances are that you're texting with someone that you know, but the whole gaming thing brings up different issues. So thank you for sharing. All right. Oh, also making sure that I'm able to see everyone's questions that are coming up. All right, you want to go to the next one, Leanne? Oh, do I need to go to the next screen? I'm managing a few things here. I don't know. Let's see.
The next slide is the video, Holly.
Oh, okay. Let me get there. Oh, I just wanted to share one. We parked our phones downstairs in the evenings, and the kids didn't enjoy that. Yes, that unfortunately happens with kids.
So definitely a challenge then would be that they don't like it when you say, put the phone down. That's a challenge. How can we say, okay, how can we get over that and say, let's talk about these boundaries? And that's why we're here today.
Right. All right, let's see if our video plays like we want it to.
Okay, and before you play that, let me just
let me pause.
Well,
pause.
At least we know it's working. The audio is working.
Thank you.
Let's hear from teens about their experiences. So as you watch, it might be helpful to jot down some notes, but that's option for you. Again, we're going to do this in the chat too. If you want to take notes, go ahead, Holly, when you're ready.
Okay. Oh dear. Here we go.
My favorite platform is usually Instagram.
Probably Snapchat and regular iMessage on iPhones.
We text a lot.
Texting, text message, text or group chat with my friends.
Group text messages.
Facebook Messenger.
They're always on it. I'm always with my friends, but when I'm not with them, I'm always talking to them on social media.
I definitely say sometimes it's beneficial because you go home and you might have had an argument with your sibling or your mom and you just need to talk to your friend, or you might need help with homework or something.
Being able to always be just like a phone call or text message away from each other allows us to kind of establish a relationship that's closer.
Reaching out to the person right when you need them, so that you don't have to wait until you see them at school to talk to them. that definitely brings us closer.
Texting is like an easier alternative. Take out your phone and communicate with someone.
There are definitely things that maybe I wouldn't tell anyone in real life that I feel more comfortable telling them on social media or online, because it's not the same as saying it to someone's face as it is to text it.
I know that my friends, or not even just my friends, but my family or anybody I can talk to, I know that they are available to me.
Yeah, I never really feel depressed or anything like that, just because there's always somebody to talk to and always somebody that's there for you. That's kind of a good thing about social media.
I could not imagine what it would be like if I couldn't contact them so quickly. Our lives are so integrated with social media and contacting other people that I don't think I could imagine not contacting them.
There can be an invasion of space and privacy over not just social media, but all forms of modern technology. We have each other's location 24/7.
Yes, there's been people that have contacted me for multiple times that have just been constant and annoying, that have just gone on my nerves.
If there's someone that is constantly reaching out to you and you don't want that person to be contacting you, that can be irritating and it's kind of a hassle.
I got my phone taken away from my friend texting me too much. I had to turn it off completely. I had to turn it off when I was in class because it just started making so much noise.
I've had a friend who's contacted me way too much, and one of the downsides is that I kind of avoid that friend in real life and at school, so they feel a little neglected and it kind of hinders our friendship.
There's kind of a pressure that if one of us doesn't respond or keep texting, we're gonna not talk again.
I've had a friend contact me too much to the point where I've asked them to give me some boundaries and some space. I would usually tell them in a respectful manner.
Over text, you either just flat out say it or you kind of ghost them.
I used to have a friendship where we would text nonstop. We would get to the point where we get irritated with one another. That was nonstop, where you at, where you at, where you at, what are you doing, what are you doing, why are you not hanging out with me, why are you not that? It got to the point where leave me alone.
Sometimes we could be too much part of each other's lives, and it's not really good because we're kind of taken away from our own lives because we're constantly looking at theirs.
In the beginning, some people don't understand boundaries. I would have to constantly communicate to them that I have my boundaries, even through online, through social media. I don't find it as much as a problem because I've practiced it and I've learned to get better at it.
I do believe that technology leads to boundary issues. I feel like technology has created a sense of a really tight-knitted community, but in a way it's too tight.
I feel that when we have conversations online, it kind of takes away the magic from talking face to face.
It definitely can get a little overwhelming, and it makes it difficult to hold conversations in real life because you talk about everything over social media or through your phones. And then if we do talk about something, it's normally social media related, or we have to pull out our phones to talk about it, so you don't really get to be in the moment with your friend because you're on your phone.
All right. So what are some of the key topics in the video and what can you relate to? If you want, you can put that in the chat if you can.
Yeah, I was so impressed with some of those kids and how mature. Oh my goodness. Eric says, my wife and I talk a lot about modeling good phone behavior. For example, being present to the room and not checking out our phones. That's such great advice and sometimes so hard to follow. It's okay to leave someone unread. Hard concept in our house. You can be unavailable. That also great advice. But I think, like some of those kids said, it's so hard when they feel like, oh, my friend doesn't think I'm being a friend because I'm not available. So Kids wanting and needing boundaries. Oh, I think that's so true. But not knowing how to do that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, but not knowing how to say it where they don't in a mean way, or they feel comfortable.
Or not just ghosting them, never talking to them again, right? That type of thing. So Greg said kids hit on ghosting, and this can lead to conflict that carries over to in-person. So true. So hopefully we're going to give you some tips that you can share with your kids that aren't just about total ignoring that person, ghosting, if you're not familiar with that term. And so hopefully avoiding some of those conflicts when they do see each other face to face.
Setting boundaries around online communication can be tricky. Let's talk about some big picture best practices recommended by Common Sense Media we can use when we talk to our kids about how to get the benefits from texting and messaging without feeling overwhelmed. So these are the big picture best practices recommended by Common Sense Media. Telling a friend you need less contact is awkward. I mean, for all ages, that's awkward. We don't want to hurt their feelings, but we also don't want to start feeling resentful, especially to kids. The stakes can feel very high. In fact, kids can feel like relationships depend on being there whenever a friend needs them. So setting boundaries can feel hard. Do your best to relate to how complicated it can be.
Yeah, I love that, sharing your own, saying, gosh, I haven't always gotten it right, you know.
Thanks. Telling a friend I'm sorry.
Did I go too
far?
far?
Go down. Nope, you were all right.
Make sure, tell me next slide so I don't hurry you along or miss out on something.
Okay, thank you. Though it's tempting to ghost someone or send a snippy message back to a person who's sending too many messages, it won't solve the problem and could cause more. If your kid is overwhelmed by someone's constant contact, encourage them to talk to that person face to face about how they're feeling, because it can prevent misunderstandings. If they're not sure how to do it and they're open to it, ask them to pretend you are the other person so they can practice. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I'll never forget this a conversation I had with my son, and my advice is always, I don't know if it's the same with my daughter. I feel like we could look at each other, but my son, I always felt like it was so much better in the car, right? I am just driving and having this conversation, and I'd say, well, gosh, if it was me, I might say this, and then what would you say? And rather than say, let's do a role play, because I don't know if that would have gone over so great. But after he had a difficult conversation, he said it was really helpful to practice. I felt like that was one of my great parenting moments when I needed to wear a star, because those don't come often.
Yeah, and it helps you feel prepared, like you feel better of what you're going to say, especially to a friend, and you'll feel better approaching this situation.
Right.
Okay, next slide.
Helps us adults too, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was also going to add, this is again all ages. I mean, when you talk to someone face to face, you're getting accurate facts, right? But if you're talking to somebody about he said, she said, you're not getting all the facts.
True. All
right. The constant buzzing and those little red numbers can make a series of simple, hi, what's up? Texts feel urgent. So the phone has a part to play in the feelings of pressure too. With your kid, go through the phone setting to adjust notifications on text and messaging apps and set down times when they can truly be unreachable, especially around bedtime. If that notion panics them, encourage them to communicate their phone-free schedule to their friends so everyone's on the same page.
That's a great tip, right? To say, and especially when it's rules of the house. I mean, even other kids can recognize, because they have rules at their house, but it's just the rule at our house. my mom or whatever it is. But I think that's so nice to give kids that out. Also, I have found is that if you talk about rules with your kids rather than just instituting, but saying, what do you think is reasonable? When you come home, is it nice to just kind of turn everything off? And maybe kind of coming up with something reasonable you can both agree with. That usually goes over better.
Yeah, and also like there's expectations on both ends. If you agree to a specific time around bedtime, you both know at that time, phones off.
Or homework time or whatever it is that, I used to say to my kids, well, when you're playing sports, it's not like your friends, they know you're playing sports at this time. You're swimming or running or whatever. They're not expecting you to be ever present. So why not just communicate, oh, I've got homework between this time and this time, or that type of thing. Or we have family dinner between this time and this time. They're not expecting that all the time.
And next slide. This is the last best practice. Peers are so important to tweens and teens, and the opinions of their friends are critical. Tweens and younger teens can especially have trouble speaking up for themselves if it means a friend might be upset with them. To give them some backup, offer to be the one to blame when it comes to boundaries. Your kid can say something like, my mom, dad, or other won't let me use my phone after 9 p.m. so I won't get your texts. I know, it's literally so lame, right? So you could say, hey, blame it on me. And I do this with my 4-year-old all the time. I blame it on mom. Sorry. You let your kid know that I'm here for your support. If this makes you feel better, blame it on me. I'm okay with that.
Oh, I remember a conversation, my son calling me the meanest mom in the world. And I thought, I've been going for that title for a long time, and I finally got it. Meanest mom, because really what you're doing is protecting them, right? They don't get it now, but as I think Kendra pointed out, kids really do want boundaries. They need to know where that is. And when you give your child boundaries, then they also know how to set up boundaries as they get older too. So I think that is such an important piece you're modeling great behavior as they get older, and maybe outside of your nest on how to set boundaries for themselves when you aren't there.
Yeah,
so I thought,
definitely.
I've been a bad guy lots.
All right, when you're ready, next slide.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, this was assumed to be in a group, so we're going to just ask you to write in the chat. So I have 4 questions for you that I'm going to say, I'll say out loud, and then Holly will also put it in the chat. So if you didn't hear me all the way, and we just want to hear your opinions from hearing these 4 best practices. How can you answer these questions the best? Number 1, has your kid dealt with any of the thoughts or concerns of the teens in the video? If yes, which ones?
I'm not as fast a typer. If yes.
I'll say again, has your kid dealt with any of the thoughts or concerns of the teens in the video? If yes, which ones? One that comes to my mind, I hope somebody puts in the chat. Yep, you get, thank you, Holly.
Oh, good, it came up. I was really amazed at the maturity level of some of those kids recognizing that it is an issue. The constant annoyance of feeling like they have to be on all the time.
One thing that caught my eye, my kids are much younger, but one thing that I was a little concerned was one boy said that nobody hurts his feelings or he feels safe when he's talking at social media rather than face to face. Did you see that one part?
Yeah, where they felt like I can say something that I would never tell someone in person.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a little bit of a red flag, thinking, oh, well, so if this was a red flag for you, please join us next week because we're talking about that, who you are on social media and when, sharing too much.
And I'm also going to be facilitating that one too.
Great. So this, we have a response. All three
Yeah.
of my children are little, and it was an excellent reminder about the balance of urgency and boundaries. My little girl, who is 7, will often remind my husband or I to put our phone down. I think I underestimate the impact of my technology use in their presence. Oh, little eyes always are watching, aren't they? And so, yeah. And it's so hard to be that model of see as I do as well as I say.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Okay.
I'm putting in the next one.
Okay, good. Oh, did you? I was gonna. You got it. All right. The next question: which strategy or strategies do you think might be most helpful with your kid? So the 4 best practices. Which one do you think would be the most helpful? And if you don't remember, tip number 1 was acknowledge the awkwardness. Tip number 2, encourage an in-person conversation. Tip number 3, help them say no to notifications. And tip 4 was take the heat. Offer to be the blame. I already do the last one, so I know that's strategy isn't helpful for me.
I think parenting is all about trying as many strategies as you can, right?
Yes,
there's no one
works.
tool. Yes, we all need great big toolboxes. And these little people came into our lives without directions. And so sometimes it's with one child, it works one way, or your cousin's kid works differently. Limiting notifications, they can help us set those up together. So great. And that's what's so great about kids, right? They know great things about our phones. So let them be the expert and help them, let them help us, right?
Yep. And you're giving them choices too. You're also including them. So it doesn't feel like they are in trouble in a way.
Or being done to them instead of with them.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Setting down and pausing electronic distractions while speaking to one another. Wow, that when that student said, oh, we're talking about social media and we're all sitting around each other with our phones out, talking about our phones, right?
That makes me think of if you go out to a restaurant, if you really do look around, how many people are on their phone rather than having a conversation.
I gave this example last week where a group of, I think they were teenagers, and they are a little older than teenagers maybe, but they were all out to dinner and they put their phones down. Whoever grabbed the phone first had to pay for the meal. So they all agreed. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Well, what if it happens to the kid and then he says, let's do it again.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe it works with your parents, maybe to keep them if your parents are on the phone.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
I'm going to add the next one. While you explain it, I will add it in.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3 says, under what circumstances could you use a strategy? Is there a time of day when your kid is most open to talking? Is there a real life example of someone, a friend, a celebrity, you, who's either a negative or positive example that can open the conversation? So under what circumstances could you use a strategy? What example or situation can you maybe explain that would be helpful to use one of the strategies? Is there a time of day that you think your kid is the most open to talking? I know for me, and again, my son is only 4. He's most open to talking like after he wakes up, after maybe an hour or 2. Other than that, he's busy. Don't talk to me, Mom. I'm busy playing.
I also think sometimes when kids share things that have happened in school, like to another student, I think what they're sometimes saying is that can be a conversation starter to say, gosh, how would you handle that different? Or how did that make so-and-so feel? And so that can oftentimes be that impetus to have that conversation with your student, especially when they bring something up. My daughter went to a birthday party and the parents had a phone box. Check your phones at the door. Oh my goodness. She claims it was the worst ever, but they had a blast. Yes. And you know what? They could all commiserate with having to put their phones up and talk like the old-fashioned way together. So not only was it this, but they all did it together. So they'll all remember that birthday party. Way to go to that mom or dad or parents who decided on that. I give them good kudos. I love these examples. So thanks so much for sharing.
Should I go to the next question?
Sure.
Okay, this is the last one. What obstacles do you think you might run into and how can you get past them? What obstacles could you run into?
I mentioned earlier, sometimes when it's like, oh, trying to get that tiger back in the cage, right? If your child has had a phone for a long time, and now you're trying to institute rules and regulations, that can often lead to a lot of reaction that may not be how you wanted it to go. So coming up with ways to have that conversation, I think sometimes regarding safety or who they are on social media for their future, whether they're, if you've got an older teenager going to college, applying for a job, those types of things, that might give you a better opportunity to have a conversation about putting some limits. But I think that it's they're very wed to their phones. It's really part of whom they are in their relationship. So if anyone's got some tips, we're all ears. This is a great place and avenue to share. All right.
Okay. Well,
where are we next? Do we have one more next? Oh,
no.
This was a talk it through. We don't. These are all workshops are all originally for in-person conversation, which we would love to have, but unfortunately, we are where we are. But the other pieces, we probably might have other people of different age groups in our group tonight. And so we really do appreciate all your comments through our chat or the Q&A feature. That's been great.
We got one more comment actually, and it's a good one if you want to read that.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Impulsivity. Really need to continue teaching my kids the importance of thinking through and not reacting emotionally. Oh, that's a hard one, isn't it? Right? That self-control is such an important thing to teach kids, right? And model that and the difference between need and want, right? Where it really is when they say, no, I need to. It's like, no, I think you want to respond, but do you need to? It's at the end of the world. What will happen if you don't? But oh, yes, Elizabeth, that's a whole lot of modeling and a whole, it's a time thing. It's not a one-time lesson, is it?
Okay, so if you could go to the next slide, please, Holly.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw that.
Oh, did I go one? I went to one too many. Share with the group which strategy we'll
No.
take home and try.
Yeah, that's perfect. What technique will you apply to your parenting? What strategy will you try with your kids? So it says take a few minutes to share, but if you could put in the chat, which one is most important to you? Do you think that that you took from this today? Out of the 4 best practices, which one did you take away from tonight that you thought, oh, I'll be able to bring this into my home and practice this at home with my student?
So I'm just going to go read those again. Tip number 1, acknowledge the awkwardness. It isn't always pretty on how you set up boundaries. So letting your kid understand that setting boundaries can be tricky, and being vulnerable with them and saying that maybe sometimes when you didn't get it right. Tip 2 is encourage an in-person conversation to prevent misunderstandings and help them plan ahead. Tip 3, help them say no to notifications. Somebody said that was the one she was taking away. Set some rules and use the phone settings to limit constant interruptions. And then 4, take the heat. Offer to let your child use you as an excuse when it's especially hard to set limits for themselves. So all great piece of advice. Oh, thank you, Leanne. She put those in there. So that kind of helps. Number 2, encourage an in-person conversation. Oh, yes, in so many ways. Isn't that for all of us? I often talk about a friend of mine sending me a text in all caps, and I thought she was yelling at me, and I didn't know what I'd done wrong. And then her next text was, and there were so many emotions that went with that text and how I felt. And luckily, before I even had a moment to respond, she said, I have this new phone. I can't figure out how to turn off the all caps. And that changed that completely.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if we were in person, it would have been a totally different outcome.
With the all caps, you took it as a, oh my gosh, there's
She's
something
yelling
wrong.
at me.
Yeah, I would too. I would definitely feel that the same way.
So Elizabeth writes, setting boundaries, including respecting their space and others, especially through modeling, and as you mentioned, sharing my own experience. I think that you as parents, and I'm, and family engagement is my job. I will say you are so powerful as their first teacher. Never underestimate the power you have as their parent. You are whom they look up to, and you are whom they want to follow. So that's so excellent. Janet says, number 3, help them say no to notifications, but the phone still gets parked. Well done. Be the mom. Way to go. All of them are so helpful reminders, but especially during the pandemic, acknowledging the awkwardness of communication can completely shift a conversation and remind us about empathy and understanding. And so much of that happens in face-to-face, real-life conversations, doesn't it? These are all great, and just has been so fun to have everyone's comments and
yes, thank you again for sharing. Those are all great comments at the end and good takeaways. I think, like I said, this was geared to 4th through 12th, but I think we could all relate, even if you don't have your student within those grades. Again, my kids is 4, and I can relate to this. So
also, yes, if you have younger ones, maybe like, oh, how I handled it differently when I had my second child, I gave a phone to them, my first,
Mhm.
I knew a little bit more.
It also makes you think like this is now our reality, and this is happening at younger ages. So now is the time to really think about it, to start thinking about it, because technology is only going to get cooler and cooler.
So what are you seeing in elementary school at the ages that you're starting to see common bringing a phone or having technology?
It's the cell phone. And, I think every teacher can say we didn't have a phone in elementary school. So, it's surprising. But again, there are some parents who have their phones because they need to make sure their kid is at practice and after school, who's picking them up. So there are lots of reasons. But what I am hearing, being the PE teacher and recess and walking around and creating those good relationships with my students, the biggest things that I hear are the TikTok and the videos. So any type of video, dancing, those are biggest hits in elementary. And somehow they get to it. So even if they don't have a phone, they're still seeing it.
Right. Somebody shared, and watches. The phones, the watches, and as Mom said, it's crazy to me. They're super expensive. And so that's another way of constantly being interrupted and on. So think maybe more than twice before maybe that is a gift given, but that's so true.
And I'm probably making fun of myself now, but I am 35. But I remember when I was a kid in 6th grade, and I wanted a pager, a beeper, so bad because it just looked cool. And do we have beepers? That's just, it makes me laugh. The technology now. Now we have these cell phones and the watches. I mean, I have the iPhone.
Yeah. One of the comments that was made by a middle school counselor about this latest trend on TikTok and Instagram and a lot of these sharing platforms was that oftentimes now kids are less likely to participate in school sports or in dances and different things, because what they see is that everybody else is perfect. They don't see the 212 times the kid did that skateboard trick so that it looked perfect. They only see the perfection at the end. And the middle school counselor was saying we're seeing less and less students go out for sports because they're not good at it yet. And their view is that everybody else is perfect and I'm lacking, therefore, because I'm not that good, rather than recognizing that there was so much work and practice that went into that before it ever hit the airwaves, the TikTok platform. So,
that's sad.
It is sad because I hate that we're compromising kids' futures and in trying. There's so much that we learn from trying.
And that's why it's so important as us as the parent to encourage those in-person conversations, to talk about exactly how we're talking.
Right.
Because it's not real life.
All the failed sports I did. I didn't have to be perfect at it. It was okay. It was okay because all your friends did it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, we're almost at the end of our time, but
yep, that was the last slide that I wanted to end it with those questions and the takeaway. So that is it on my end. I really do appreciate those of you who tuned in, and it was really nice to have this opportunity as an intern to do this, but I will be here again next session. So if those of you who can make it next week would be great too.
Yes. So next week, our topic is who are you on social media? So that goes to when you shared and then you thought that it deleted, did it? whatever happened to that image that you may not be so proud of right now? So that will be our topic. And a lot of that has to do with safety that we talked about earlier tonight. So please join us for that. And again, like all of our social media series, they will be on the district YouTube channel. You simply, when you get to that, you just put Clover Park School District YouTube, and then you can click on playlists. There are a bunch of different ones that we also recorded last year. Most of that was intended for kids who are going to college. And I am going to do a plug for next week. We are having a financial wellness series on Tuesday on the 8th, and it's called Paying for College. So if that's something that you're, whether I say you have a preschool or a high schooler, the preparation starts now. So we have a lot of thank yous from everyone who joined us tonight. Have a great evening. We'll see you back here for Parent Academy. And we really thank you for participating. And Leanne, thank you for being our presenter tonight. It was fun to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right. Good night, everyone.